Welcome to the Sorbet Skin Edition. My name is Thando Mangisa. Today, I get to talk to you about what we all relate to, and that's our skin. We are going to be talking about skin and how your skin feels, but not only that, but how to take care of your skin and make sure your skin is healthy. I'm not alone today. I'm with Leigh-Anne from the Sorbet team, and she will take us through everything skin. Welcome, Leigh-Anne.
Thanks, Thando. I'm so excited to be here talking about my favorite topic, skin.
So, Leigh-Anne, let's get to it. A few people have been asking questions about their skin, especially within the winter seasons. What skin concerns do you think we notice the most during this season, and how can we address them?
Yeah, so I think if we're talking winter skin, I think the biggest thing people see is this dry, dehydrated complexion. A lot of people, I guess, will complain about skin sensitivity. I'm feeling a little bit irritated. My skin's a bit dry. That talks to your skin barrier function, which I'm sure we'll unpack in a little bit more detail as we go through the program today. And then the other big one is around customers, particularly customers that already have sensitive skin, will start to see skin conditions flare up in the likes of like your eczema, psoriasis, particularly around this time of the year. And the reason being is because the majority of us are walking from outside where it's freezing cold to the inside where there's heaters on. So your skin is constantly being exposed to this cold condition, hot condition, and your skin is not programmed to go through hot and cold climates like within a short space of time. So what we find in this period of time is that our skin starts to lose a lot of oil, a lot of moisture from the skin, and really what that leads to is that dryness, that flaky skin, that like dull complexion. And then what you'll hear a lot of, particularly customers with lighter complexions, complaining about skin sensitivity. And that's because we've had that complete breakdown in the barrier repair. And the only reason that that barrier repair has been broken down is through this movement from hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. So there are ways to overcome it, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go through the program today, and what are some of the tips and tricks that guests and customers can use to really treat those skin conditions.
Sounds like Skin Olympics, but I mean, it's all wisdom. So, Leigh-Anne, I heard you speak about the skin barrier. What is the skin barrier? And during this winter season, it's coming up as a big topic. And how do we know when once it is compromised?
So, I mean, your skin barrier is your outermost layer of your skin. So the best way I can describe it for our viewers is if you were to put water in a glass and you put oil on the top, what does the oil do? It locks in that moisture. So your barrier comprises of lipids. So what it's doing is it's starting to strip down that barrier in the skin, causing that lipid, that oil that sits on the surface of the skin, to start to kind of be compromised. And what that allows then is, as soon as your lipid layers become compromised and you start to lose lipids in the skin, is that suddenly you start to lose moisture as well. So all that moisture that's been locked in like that glass of water is now suddenly exposed. And so what's happening is you're becoming dehydrated. The skin is becoming dehydrated. You're losing that moisture in the skin. And what that does is leads to skin sensitivity, this constant exposure to hot and cold climates. In a fairer complexion, what also happens is you'll see a lot of us people like me who are fair complexioned. As soon as we're moving from that hot to cold climate, what naturally happens is we'll get red cheeks. You'll see it a lot in like toddlers and youngsters, and that's because of that exposure to the hot and cold, which is creating that blood surge to the skin. And then when you go into a cooler climate, the blood moves away from the skin, and then you go into a hot climate and it surges again. So that kind of leads to that skin sensitivity, that redness on the skin. But the biggest cause of that is that breakdown in the barrier.
So, I mean, Leigh-Anne, you've taken us through skin conditions that may arise, especially during different seasons, especially winter at this point. I want to know the importance of consultation. What would one need to do in terms of addressing skin concerns?
Yeah, I think great question, Thando. I mean, I've been around for a number of years, and lots of people always come to me and say, like, what should I be using on my skin? And that's really hard to give advice on if I haven't done a proper consultation on you and I haven't really looked at your skin in great detail to say what you should be using. And that's why it's so important to go for that professional advice and that professional consultation, because they can do a proper analysis of your skin and be able to tell you exactly what products you should be using. Because how many times do customers purchase products and say, oh, I'm actually not getting the results I hoped I would get from this particular product, and then they end up with a cupboard full of products not serving them well and not treating those particular concerns that they have. So I think it's vitally important that you go for the consultation. We've got great skilled, highly skilled therapists sitting in all of our salons across the country that are able to give that consultative advice, and you don't have to pay for it. You can go in store, ask for a consultation, and that person can give you the exact recommendation that you need in terms of what product should I be using, and then what treatment should I be using to support that at-home treatment. Because it doesn't just stop at using products at home. There's also the benefits of having an in-salon treatment, which is a more advanced treatment. Often more highly active products are used within that particular session, and you go through a series of steps to treat the skin, and then you obviously back that up with home care so that you're getting the best results and you're ultimately getting that perfect skin that everyone's hoping for.
I mean, I could agree to that. I went for a skin consultation, and now I actually am very happy of what my home care looks like. But getting that treatment done in store makes a whole difference.
Absolutely.
So, Leigh-Anne, many speak about the amount of treatments that Sorbet actually offers. Which are the treatments that you could recommend during this winter season and that actually directly speak to the concerns the public goes through?
Yeah, I think having discussed all the skin conditions we spoke about earlier around sensitivity of the skin, dryness, dehydration, that's repair to the skin barrier, I think your natural treatment that you would go to would be a nourishing, hydrating, really vitamin-rich treatment that's going to repair that skin barrier, really put back the moisture, lock it back into the skin. But in the same token, then it also goes against what I had said previously, which is why consultation is so important, because I might be thinking you need nourishing and hydrating, but you coming in to treat a totally different skin condition. So consultation is critical to make sure that the guest receives the treatment she ultimately wants and the results she ultimately wants, while we're still treating the skin concerns around dehydration, dryness, sensitivity of the skin, because ultimately you won't get great results if we're not treating all the skin conditions. But what's equally important is to make sure that the guest leaves happy with the service. And I think what I can say about Sorbet is that we really have a variety of services, whether you're a customer starting out on your skincare journey, just looking for an introductory treatment to get your skincare routine started, or you're a guest that's been coming to us for a number of years, you're looking for more advanced services that give you almost like instant results. And when I talk about advanced services, I'm talking the likes of chemical peels, microneedling. So really what I'm saying is that we have skincare services to cover every single customer, irrespective of what your need is or what you're ultimately hoping to achieve. And also that's working within your budget in terms of what you've got available to spend on your skincare journey with Sorbet. So skin consultation is important, but it's also important to understand what you as the customer are ultimately hoping to achieve.
Sorbet offers a lot of treatments, and I know the one thing that a few customers struggle with, especially men, is skin routine. What's the perfect routine that both ladies and males should follow with their skin?
Yeah, again, I think it comes back to customer, really, what you wanting to invest in your skincare. But I mean, I think for me, there's 4 critical steps in any skincare routine, and that's your cleanser, number 1. And I think a lot of people, if I had to ask the majority of the people watching our podcast today, is how many of you do a double cleanse and what's the importance of a double cleanse? Most people would say, I only cleanse my skin once, but actually it's very important to cleanse your skin twice. One is around removing oil impurities. The next one is around really treating the skin and making sure that that skin is clean before you start applying your routines. I think next is equally important. I mean, if anyone asked me what was one product I would take out of my house if my house was burning, it would be my serum and my sunscreen, because I'm a real believer in serums. And I think serums are equally important, particularly at this time of the year where we talk about layering of the skin, because your serum is a much smaller molecule that can penetrate deep into the skin. So you often get better results from using a serum versus a moisturizer. But ultimately, it comes back to the customer and what the customer's preference is. Most customers prefer a thicker, richer textured cream on the skin, which is fine. For me, if you are able to do both, do both. But if you've got a preference for one or the other, obviously that really is going to come down to what you prefer using on your skin. And I think at this time of the year, the majority of us are saying that our regular skincare routine or a regular moisturizer is not enough. I'm still feeling that dryness, that tightness in the skin. So I think it's important to start using a slightly more nourishing, richer textured cream. But if you don't like rich textured creams, then use a serum. because it's going to be equally as hydrating to the skin. If you can layer, then layer. And then let's not forget sunscreen. And I think I can't drum that in enough into customers, is that the importance of using sun care. Doesn't mean because we're in the winter that we don't have to use sunscreen. You should be using sunscreen throughout the year. We're exposed to UV radiation, whether we're driving in our cars or we're sitting behind our computer screens or we're looking at our tablets or our digital devices. We are constantly exposed to UV radiation. So I think it's important that we make sure that we're applying that sunscreen on a regular basis. And I mean, in terms of ladies, gents, I don't think it really matters. I think most people today are not wanting to spend hours on a skincare routine. They're looking for that multi-functional product. So they're looking for that all-in-one product, particularly when it comes to gents. They're looking for the foaming wash and the scrub all in one, or they're looking for the serum and the moisturizer all in one, or they're looking for the moisturizer with the sunscreen. But that doesn't say ladies aren't looking for the same thing. I think today the trend is around not having a bathroom cabinet full of products, but really around multifunctional products where my routine is like a 5-10 minute routine in the morning and I'm done.
We spoke of layering, and I know it's one of my favorite topics, but a lot of people get layering wrong or just don't understand what layering is. What's so important about layering and choosing the right products?
Yeah, so I mean, you asked me earlier what is the skincare routine you should be following, and we spoke about serums and moisturizers. And often what happens is customers are putting on their serums post their moisturizer, which is actually not the right thing to do. If you're also using two serums and one is is of more oily consistency versus a water consistency, your oily product shouldn't be going on first, followed by your water consistency type product. So I think it's important to really understand that routine and when what should go on the skin. And I think the importance of the consultation comes back to that, because your therapist will guide you on when should you be using particular products. Should it be morning and evening? When should you be using in your step routine? It's a step 1, 2, 3. Cleansing is obviously always your first step. Your second step should always be your serum or your slightly more liquidy type product that would go under, and then followed by your moisturizer or your sunscreen, because some people prefer not to put a moisturizer on and go straight to sunscreen. But I think it's important to understand what those steps are, and your skincare therapist should be advising you in terms of when should go on it and where.
Okay, perfect. I mean, I love layering. I do it in the evening, so I hope I'm doing it correctly.
Whether you do it morning or evening, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, if you speak to me, I'm a serum junkie. So I'm at least putting on 2 serums and a moisturizer every single day, in both morning and evening. So really it just comes back to guest preference and really what you're wanting to achieve. Some guests don't enjoy it because they feel like it makes their skin oily, and then they've got this oily shine. For me, I'm like the more my skin shines, the better I feel and the healthier I feel my skin is. So it really comes back to guest preference and what you prefer on your skin.
And we all love a glow.
Exactly.
So it sounds like it's the perfect Sorbet skin journey. I want to know, what should every Sorbet guest know about taking care of their skin? And how can Sorbet help them with just that?
Yeah, so I think today we've spoken a lot about skincare in terms of facial skincare, but let's not forget that there's a whole body that's also covered in skin. So skin being your largest organ in your body, it should also be taken care of, whether it's your face or body. And I think a lot of guests, me included, tend to neglect our body care routines, and that's equally as important as looking after our face. I mean, how many times do you hear customers saying, I don't understand, I've got my skin care on my face, my skin on my face looks amazing. I don't really look like I've aged much, but then I look at my chest, my décolleté area, and all I'm seeing is aging, fine lines, wrinkles, sun damage. And really what that talks to is most of us stop our skincare routine at the end of our necks, and we don't really take it down to the chest area. I think a lot of us, as we age, we start complaining about what happens to our hands, what happens to our legs. And really it is about taking care of your skin, not just on the face, but on the body too. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a complex routine. It could be a body oil if you choose to use a body oil. It could be a body moisturizer, putting back all those nutrients and nourishment back into the skin. So really it is up to the guest, ultimately what they're hoping to achieve. But I mean, don't forget about your body. And I think that's an important message. And then last but not least, it's also about, you can't just take care of your skin through products. I think we know that whatever's happening internally, we hear a lot about gut health. We hear a lot about ingestible beauty, inner wellness, and I think that's equally important. If you really want to get great skincare results, you've also got to make sure that your gut health is optimal, and that's about taking supplements, ingestibles, whether it be collagen, vitamins, omegas, whatever it might be. I think it's important to remember that your skincare journey doesn't just stop and start with skincare products and skincare treatments, but it's also about what we put in our bodies is equally as important to getting those great results. So I really encourage guests to use some form of internal supplementation. We call it beauty from within, whether it, like I said, whether it be collagen, peptides, or just a straight multivitamin, all are equally important.
So, last question, Leigh-Anne, and one of my favorite ones. A lot of people are moving away from the idea of perfect skin, but rather healthy skin. What is your take on that topic?
So I think healthy skin is always the most important topic. I mean, if you don't have a healthy skin, you're never going to get to perfect skin. But I think, let's be honest, everyone's chasing that perfect skin look. I mean, we hear about the glass skin, we hear about the uneven complexion. So I think that you're always going to be striving for the perfect skin. And what I want to tell the audience is that you definitely can get perfect skin, but it's always about making sure that you focus on the healthy skin first. So making sure that your skin is in good health, that your barrier is in good function, because if without a good skin barrier function, you can do whatever you like, you're never going to get the perfect skin and you're never going to get healthy skin. So I think always most important is make sure your skin is healthy. And like I said, focusing on the inside and outside and not just focusing on products alone. I think will get you to that perfect skin that you ultimately and everyone's wanting to achieve at the end of the day. And I think what I also want to highlight from a Sorbet perspective, we spoke about it earlier, is we don't just have a skincare routine suited to every single customer, whether you are young, starting out your skincare journey, where you've got aging skin and you're really concerned about aging and pigmentation and really like wrinkles, fine lines, we have you covered. Whether it's coming from a treatment perspective or a product perspective, like I said, we have a treatment for every single customer. And especially particularly for the youth. Someone asked me the other day, what's the perfect age to start using skincare? And I'm like, I'm of the opinion the sooner you can start using good skincare, the better. I mean, you'll hear lots of dermatologists say, put vitamin A on your kids from the day they're born, put sunscreen on them. And I think it's about making sure that we're always just protecting and maintaining healthy skin. And I think particularly youngsters today are more focused. They're watching these YouTube videos, they're watching TikTok videos. So they're very knowledgeable about skin and what they ultimately want to achieve. And I think it's important to start the skincare journey as young as you possibly can and just using the basics. And like we said, it's about maintaining that healthy skin to get to the perfect skin. And the younger you start and the more you start to treat those skin conditions and those skin concerns, the better ultimately the skin is as you age. So for those that are concerned with uneven complexion, let's use that as an example. The earlier you start treating that uneven complexion, the sooner you'll get that even complexion. The sooner you start treating fine lines and wrinkles, the sooner you'll be achieving, like where you get to 50 and you're like, oh, my skin looks amazing for 50, for a 50-year-old. So I think it's equally important to start the journey as young as possible. And like I said, it can start with a basic routine, just a cleanser, moisturizer, and then you can advance your routine. And really it comes back to consultation. And at Sorbet, we've got a range of skincare products to suit every single customer, whether you're a budget-friendly customer or you're moving into the advanced skincare journey and you're happy to move into more active ingredients as you advance your skincare journey, we've got you covered.
So, well, I guess the only message here is make your way to a Sorbet and start your skincare journey.
Absolutely.
Leigh-Anne, thank you so much for joining us. I hope all the viewers enjoy the session we've just had. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Share with us all your commentary and questions so that we can answer in the next episode. Thank you so much. My name is Thando Mangisa, and I am signing out.